Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, staring at something humanity had dreamed about for centuries. An alien ship hung in the darkness of space before them, massive and unlike anything human engineers had ever built. Its hull gleamed with a strange purple metal, and lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that seemed almost alive. "They're hailing us again, Captain," said Sophie Grant from the communications station. Her hands trembled slightly as she worked the controls. This was the moment that would change everything for the human race. Jake took a deep breath and straightened his uniform. "Put them on screen." The main view screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. The creature was reptilian, with scales that shifted from deep green to black. Its eyes were yellow with vertical slits, and when it spoke, rows of sharp teeth became visible. The translator software worked frantically to convert the alien's words into English. "I am High Chancellor Vexthor of the Krell Dominion," the alien said. Its voice was cold and carried absolute authority. "You are the humans, the new species that has begun crawling between the stars." Jake felt his crew tense around him. Commander Lisa Hayes, his tactical officer, moved closer to her weapons console. Dr. Ben Carter, the ship's lead scientist, leaned forward with fascination despite the obvious threat in the alien's tone. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration vessel Vanguard," Jake replied, keeping his voice steady. "We come in peace, seeking friendship and trade with other species of the galaxy." Vexthor made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like a predator's growl. Peace. Friendship. Every young species says these words when they first leave their world. You do not yet understand how the galaxy works. "Then explain it to us," Jake said. The alien leader's eyes narrowed. "The Krell Dominion has ruled this sector of space for 10,000 of your years. In that time, we have encountered 47 other species. Some were wise and accepted their place in the natural order. Others were foolish and chose to resist. The foolish ones are no longer in existence." Lisa Hayes muttered something under her breath. Jake shot her a warning glance. They needed to hear what the Krell wanted before making any decisions. "What exactly are you proposing?" Jake asked. "Humanity will join the Dominion as a protected species," Vexthor said. "You will pay tribute to the Krell. You will limit your expansion to the worlds we permit. You will provide resources and labor when required. In exchange, we will allow you to exist." The bridge fell silent. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced it down. He had been a military officer for 20 years and had learned to control his emotions. "And if we refuse?" he asked. Vexthor tilted his head, studying Jake like a scientist might examine an insect. "Then you will be eliminated. Your worlds will be cleansed. Your species will become a footnote in galactic history, another example of a young race that did not understand its limitations." Dr. Ben Carter stood up from his station. "High Chancellor, surely there must be room for negotiation. Humans value freedom and independence. We could establish a mutual alliance instead of—" "Silence!" Vexthor's voice boomed through the speakers. "You do not negotiate with the Krell. You obey or you die. These are the only choices you have ever had." Jake made a quick decision. "We need time to discuss this with our government. This is not a decision I can make alone." For the first time, the alien leader showed something that might have been amusement. "Of course, we are not unreasonable. You have 30 of your days to consult with your leaders and make the correct choice. Return to your homeworld. Show them what we are." Vexthor leaned closer to the screen. "Let them see the Krell Dominion in all its glory. Let them understand what happens to species who choose unwisely." The transmission ended. The view screen went dark. For a moment, nobody on the bridge spoke. "Captain," Lisa Hayes said quietly, "we can't possibly agree to that. I know Jake replied. "But we need to get home and warn Earth about what's coming." The Vanguard turned and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, the Krell ship followed at a distance, like a shark trailing wounded prey. 3 days later, the Vanguard emerged from faster-than-light travel near Earth. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Surrounding humanity's homeworld were 50 Krell warships, each one larger than the biggest vessel humanity had ever built. They hung in orbit like a noose, a demonstration of power meant to terrify. "It's a blockade," Lisa said, her voice tight with anger. "They're trying to intimidate us." "It's working," Sophie muttered. Jake opened a channel to Earth Command. President Kyle Manning appeared on the screen, looking tired and worried. Behind him, Jake could see military advisors and government officials rushing around in barely controlled chaos. "Captain Morrison," the president said, "I assume you've seen our visitors." "Yes, sir. And I've spoken with their leader. Mr. President, they're giving us 30 days to surrender everything or be destroyed." President Manning closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, they were hard with determination. "I've been reading the reports from our intelligence services. The Krell have done this before, dozens of times. Every species either submitted or was wiped out." "What are we going to do, sir?" Jake asked. The president looked directly into the camera. "We're going to do what humans have always done when faced with bullies and tyrants. We're going to figure out a way to fight back." He paused. "But we need time. Can you stall them?" "I'll do my best," Jake promised. Over the next 30 days, Earth became a storm of activity. Factories that had built civilian spacecraft retooled to produce weapons. Scientists worked around the clock on new technologies. Military strategists studied every scrap of information about the Krell, looking for weaknesses. Jake and his crew stayed in orbit, watching the Krell ships and gathering intelligence. Lisa worked with Earth's military to analyze Krell ship movements and tactics. Ben studied their communication patterns, trying to understand their psychology. Sophie monitored their broadcasts, learning their language. On the 29th day, Jake was summoned to a secret meeting with Admiral Ryan Cole, Earth's top military commander. The admiral was a hard man with gray hair and scars from the colony wars. "Captain," the admiral said, "tomorrow the Krell will expect our answer. President Manning is going to tell them no." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Sir, they'll attack. They'll destroy us." "Probably," the admiral agreed. "But we won't make it easy for them. We've been preparing something. We're calling it Protocol Tempest." He pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's defenses and dozens of ship positions. "When the storm breaks, Captain, I need you and the Vanguard ready to fight." Jake looked at the plan, his eyes widening as he understood what Earth's military had been preparing. It was desperate, dangerous, and completely insane. It might also be their only chance. "Yes, sir," he said. "We'll be ready." The next morning, President Manning broadcast humanity's answer to the Krell Dominion. The message was simple. No. High Chancellor Vexthor received the message aboard his flagship. He laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Foolish creatures. Very well. Prepare to demonstrate what happens to species who defy the Krell." He gave the order to attack. The first attack came at dawn on the colony world of Haven's Rest. Captain Megan Torres was leading a routine patrol flight when her sensors screamed a warning. 12 Krell warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above the colony's main city. "All fighters, this is Torres. Break formation and engage," she shouted into her radio. Her squadron of 20 fighters scattered like startled birds, but they were hopelessly outmatched. The Krell ships opened fire. Beams of superheated plasma lanced down from orbit, cutting through the atmosphere like knives through paper. Megan watched in horror as the beams touched the city below. Buildings exploded, streets melted, people died by the thousands before they even knew what was happening. "We have to do something," her wingman screamed over the radio. Megan's fighter was armed with missiles that could barely scratch a Krell ship's shields, but she had to try. All units, target their weapon ports. Maybe we can slow them down. The human fighters dove toward the alien ships, firing everything they had. A few missiles got through, causing small explosions on the Krell hulls, but it was like throwing rocks at a tank. The alien ships barely seemed to notice. One by one, Megan's squadron was shot down. Plasma bolts turned fighters into expanding clouds of debris. She dodged and weaved, her hands moving on instinct. But there were too many enemies. A blast clipped her wing and her fighter spun out of control. "Eject! Eject!" her computer screamed. Megan pulled the emergency handle. Her cockpit blew apart, and she was thrown into the sky on a stream of rocket thrust. Her parachute deployed, and she floated down toward the burning ruins of what had been a thriving human colony. Below her, 2 million people were already dead. The bombardment continued. She landed hard in the rubble of a collapsed building and immediately activated her emergency beacon. All around her was fire and destruction. The Krell ships hung above like terrible gods, continuing their methodical annihilation of Haven's Rest. "They're monsters," she whispered to herself. "Absolute monsters." Back at Earth, Admiral Ryan Cole watched the reports coming in from Haven's Rest with a face like stone. Around him in the command center, officers and analysts worked frantically, but the news was all bad. "Sir, the colony is gone," one officer reported. 97% casualties. The Krell are moving on to their next target. "Where?" Cole demanded. "Olympus Station, sir. And they've sent another fleet toward New Terra." Senator Claire Brooks stood beside the admiral, her face pale. She had argued for resistance in the government meetings, but seeing the reality of war was different from debating it in a comfortable office. "How long until they reach Earth?" she asked quietly. 18 hours at their current speed, Cole replied. "They're not in a hurry. They want us to see what they did to Haven's Rest. They want us to be afraid." "Are you afraid, Admiral?" Claire asked. Cole looked at her with tired eyes. "Terrified. But fear won't stop them. Only fighting will." On the other side of Earth, President Kyle Manning was in a secure bunker deep underground. With him were the key members of his government and military command. They had all seen the footage from Haven's Rest. Some were crying, others looked ready to surrender. Manning understood both reactions. "Mr. President," one advisor said, "we should reconsider. We can't win this fight. The Krell are too powerful. If we surrender now, they might spare Earth." "They killed 2 million people in less than an hour," Manning said coldly. "Do you really think they'll show mercy now?" "But, sir, no." Manning's voice cut through the room like a blade. "We made our choice. We chose to be free or die fighting. I will not dishonor those people who died on Haven's Rest by crawling to their killers and begging for slavery." In orbit around Earth, the Krell demonstration fleet prepared for their next move. High Chancellor Vex Thor reviewed the destruction of Haven's Rest with satisfaction. The humans would surely surrender now. No species could watch such devastation and still resist. "Send a message to the human leadership," he ordered. "They have 48 hours to surrender. If they refuse, Earth will suffer the same fate as their colony." The message was transmitted on all channels. The Krell expected a response within minutes. Hours passed. No response came. "Why are they silent?" one of Vex Thor's officers asked. The High Chancellor frowned. "They are in shock. They will respond soon." But the silence continued. 1 day passed, 2 days. The deadline approached, and still humanity said nothing. The Krell began to wonder what was happening. What they didn't know was that Earth's military was implementing Protocol Tempest. In secret locations across the solar system, final preparations were being made. Admiral Cole had mobilized every ship, every weapon, every resource humanity possessed. Lieutenant Commander Alex Kim worked in a hidden facility inside an asteroid. Around him, engineers worked on weapons that had never been tested. They were taking enormous risks, but there was no time for caution. "Sir, the calculations are complete," one engineer reported. "If we attach the FTL drives to these asteroids and program them correctly, we can jump them directly into the Krell formation." "What are the chances of success?" Alex asked. The engineer hesitated. 50-50. The drives might fail. The asteroids might miss their targets, or it might work perfectly and take out a third of their fleet in one strike. "Those are the best odds we've had all week," Alex said grimly. "Prepare for deployment." Across the solar system, similar preparations were underway. Captain Jake Morrison and the Vanguard were being refitted with every weapon that could be bolted to its hull. Megan Torres, rescued from Haven's Rest, was given command of a new squadron of fighters with upgraded weapons. Dr. Ben Carter worked with a team of programmers to develop cyber warfare attacks against Krell computer systems. On the surface of Earth, civilian volunteers were being trained for evacuation procedures. If the planet came under attack, millions would need to be moved to underground shelters. Senator Claire Brooks addressed the population, her voice broadcast to every human settlement in the solar system. "We have seen the Krell's cruelty at Haven's Rest," she said. "We have witnessed what they do to those who resist. They expect us to surrender. They expect us to be silent in our fear." She paused, and her voice grew stronger. "But we are not silent. We are preparing. And when the Krell come for Earth, they will learn that humanity does not kneel. Not now. Not ever." The message was not just for humans. It was broadcast on all frequencies, where the Krell would certainly hear it. High Chancellor Vex Thor watched the transmission with growing anger. They still resist? Even after Haven's Rest? He stood from his command chair. "Very well. We will show them that resistance is futile. Prepare the full attack fleet. We will reduce Earth to ashes." The deadline expired. The Krell fleet moved into attack formation, their ships taking positions to bombard Earth's surface. They were confident. They were powerful. They expected humanity to break and beg for mercy at the last moment, as so many species had done before. Admiral Cole stood in Earth's command center, watching the enemy ships move into position. Around him, officers waited for his orders. Everyone knew this was the moment that would decide humanity's future. "All units," Cole said into the communication system, his voice calm despite the stakes. "This is Admiral Cole. The Krell have come to destroy us. They believe we will surrender. They believe we will be silent." He paused. "Let's show them they're wrong. Activate Protocol Tempest. All forces, engage." Across the solar system, humans moved into action. Hidden ships powered up their engines, weapons armed, fighters launched, and in the asteroid belt, dozens of space rocks fitted with FTL drives began their countdown sequence. The Krell ships opened their weapons ports, preparing to fire on Earth's cities. High Chancellor Vex Thor watched from his flagship, ready to witness the destruction of another foolish species. Then, space around his fleet exploded with asteroids appearing from nowhere, moving at incredible speeds, and the Krell's easy victory turned into chaos. The first asteroid materialized directly in front of a Krell cruiser. The alien ship's sensors detected it for exactly 2 seconds before millions of tons of rock slammed into the hull at tremendous speed. The cruiser crumpled like paper, its shields overwhelmed by the sheer mass and velocity of the impact. The ship broke apart in a bloom of fire and debris. High Chancellor Vex Thor stumbled as his flagship shook from a near miss. "What is happening?" he roared. "Where did those come from?" "The humans, sir," his tactical officer shouted. "They attached faster-than-light drives to asteroids and jumped them into our formation." More asteroids appeared throughout the Krell fleet. Ships scattered in panic, abandoning their attack positions. 3 more cruisers were destroyed. 2 destroyers collided while trying to evade. Within 30 seconds, the organized Krell formation had become complete chaos. "Return fire!" Vexthor screamed. "Find their ships and destroy them!" But the human ships were already moving. Captain Jake Morrison brought the Vanguard screaming out of the shadow of Earth's moon, his weapons blazing. Behind him came a dozen other human vessels, all firing at once. "Target their command ship!" Jake shouted. "Hit them with everything!" The Vanguard's new weapons, designed by Alex Kim's team, cut through Krell shields like they were tissue paper. Missiles and plasma beams struck Vexthor's flagship, causing explosions along its hull. The High Chancellor felt his ship lurch as power systems failed. "Get us out of here," he ordered. "Retreat to defensive positions." Megan Torres led her fighter squadron in from another angle, her ships moving in patterns that seemed random but were actually carefully calculated chaos. The Krell targeting computers, programmed for traditional fleet combat, couldn't predict where the human fighters would go next. "Green Squadron, hit their weapon ports," Megan commanded. "Red Squadron, go for their engines. Gold Squadron, with me. We're taking out that carrier." Her fighters swarmed over a massive Krell carrier like angry wasps. Nuclear-tipped missiles found weak points in the armor. The carrier tried to defend itself, but Megan's pilots were too fast, too unpredictable. Within minutes, the carrier was crippled and drifting. "That's for Haven's Rest!" Megan shouted as she banked away from the dying ship. The Krell tried to adapt. They attempted to form defensive formations, but human ships appeared from unexpected angles, striking and vanishing before the aliens could respond. Admiral Cole had split his forces into dozens of small groups, each operating independently. There was no central command for the Krell to target, no main fleet to destroy. Dr. Ben Carter's cyber warfare team launched their attack. They had studied the Krell communication systems during the 30-day ultimatum period and found vulnerabilities. Now they exploited them. "Uploading virus now," Ben said, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "If this works, it should disable their coordination systems." The virus spread through the Krell network. Suddenly, enemy ships couldn't communicate with each other properly. Orders became garbled. Tactical data was corrupted. The Krell fleet, which had relied on perfect coordination, began to fall apart. "It's working!" one of Ben's team members shouted. "Their network is collapsing." Vexthor watched his fleet disintegrate with disbelief. "This is impossible! They are primitives! How are they doing this?" His tactical officer pulled up data on the human attacks. "High Chancellor, they are not fighting like any species we have encountered before. They use no standard tactics. They strike from multiple directions simultaneously. They sacrifice small units to damage larger ships. They are completely unpredictable." "Then adapt!" Vexthor screamed. "We have superior ships, superior weapons. We should be crushing them." But adaptation takes time, and the humans weren't giving them any. Alex Kim's team launched the second phase of their plan. Ships that appeared to be civilian freighters suddenly revealed hidden weapons and attacked the Krell rear guard. What the aliens thought were cargo vessels were actually disguised warships. "They fell for it," Alex said with satisfaction as he watched 3 Krell destroyers explode, caught completely off guard by the Q-ships. Senator Claire Brooks, watching the battle from Earth's command center, began broadcasting messages on all frequencies. "To all Krell vessels, you have lost 17 ships. You have lost coordination. You have lost the initiative. Surrender now, and we will allow you to leave our system. Continue fighting, and we will destroy you all." The message was psychological warfare. The Krell had never been offered terms of surrender before. It confused them, made them doubt, introduced fear where there had only been arrogance. Some Krell captains, seeing their fleet in disarray, actually began to consider the offer. Others, loyal to Vexthor, fought on with increasing desperation. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human losses were heavy. 20 ships destroyed, 300 fighters lost. but the Krell were bleeding worse. By the time Vexthor ordered a retreat, he had lost 32 ships, with another 15 badly damaged. The surviving Krell vessels jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled the solar system. The humans did not pursue. They were too exhausted, too damaged, and too surprised that they had survived. In the command center, Admiral Cole allowed himself a moment of relief. Damage report? The numbers came in. It was bad, but they were alive. Earth was intact. The Krell had been driven off. "We did it," someone whispered. "We actually did it." "This was just one battle," Cole said, though he couldn't help but smile. "They'll be back with more ships." Jake Morrison brought the Vanguard back to dock, its hull scarred and smoking. His crew was tired but triumphant. They had faced an enemy everyone said they couldn't beat, and they had won. "Captain," Lisa Hayes said, looking at the sensor data, "the Krell are regrouping just outside the system. They're calling for reinforcements." Jake nodded. "Then we prepare for round 2, but now they know something important." "What's that, sir?" "They know we can fight back." In his flagship, limping away from Earth, High Chancellor Vexthor was in a rage. He had never been defeated before. No species had ever driven back the Krell Dominion. His officers kept their distance, afraid of his wrath. "Send a message to the homeworld," Vexthor said, his voice cold. "Tell them to send the main battle fleet, 200 ships. I want humanity erased from existence." "But High Chancellor," one officer dared to say, 200 ships. That is the largest fleet we have ever assembled. It would leave our other territories vulnerable." Vexthor turned his yellow eyes on the officer. "Do you question me?" "No, sir. I will send the message immediately." As the Krell fleet jumped away, they left behind wreckage and debris. Human recovery teams moved through the battlefield, collecting survivors and salvaging what they could from destroyed ships. They also collected pieces of Krell technology for study. President Manning addressed the human population that evening. "Today, we faced the Krell's might and we did not break. We lost friends, family, and fellow humans. Haven's Rest is gone, and that pain will never leave us. But we proved something important today. We proved that humanity will not be bullied. We will not surrender. We will fight for our freedom, no matter the cost." The speech was broadcast across all human colonies. It was also picked up by other alien species in nearby star systems, species that lived under Krell rule. They listened with wonder, some with hope. Could this young species actually defeat the Dominion? In the command center, Admiral Cole met with his top officers to plan the next phase. "The Krell are bringing their main fleet. We can't fight them head-on in another battle. We don't have enough ships." "Then what do we do?" Jake asked. Cole pulled up a star map showing the entire solar system. "We evacuate. Every colony, every station, every human settlement. We put everyone on ships and we scatter." "Evacuate Earth?" Claire Brooks looked shocked. "Admiral, that's our home." "I know," Cole said quietly. "But if we stay, they'll find us and kill us. If we scatter, they'll have to hunt us down one ship at a time. And while they're hunting us, we hunt them." Jake understood immediately. Guerrilla warfare, no fixed targets, no territory to defend, just mobile forces striking wherever they're weakest. "Exactly," Cole confirmed. "They want to destroy our civilization. We'll show them we don't need planets to survive. We'll become ghosts, hunting them in the dark." The orders went out that night. Evacuation protocols activated across all human worlds. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos. Millions of people packed onto transport ships, military vessels prepared for a new kind of war. Megan Torres looked at Earth from her fighter's cockpit one last time before the evacuation fleet jumped away. The blue planet that had been humanity's home for its entire existence was about to be abandoned. "We'll come back," she promised quietly. "We'll win this war, and we'll come home." Then the fleet activated their faster-than-light drives and vanished into the darkness of space, leaving Earth behind empty and waiting for the coming storm. The Krell main battle fleet arrived at Earth 3 weeks later with 200 warships, ready to annihilate humanity once and for all. High Chancellor Vexthor stood on his flagship's bridge, anticipating the satisfaction of watching human cities burn. "Begin bombardment of the homeworld," he commanded. The fleet moved into position and opened fire. Plasma beams scorched Earth's surface, but there was nobody there to kill. The cities were empty, the military bases abandoned. Earth was a ghost world. "Where are they?" Vexthor demanded. "Scan the entire system! Find the humans!" The scanners found nothing. The asteroid colonies were empty. The orbital stations were lifeless hulks. Humanity had vanished like smoke. "High Chancellor, we are receiving a transmission," the communications officer reported. "It is from the human Admiral Cole." "Put it on screen." Admiral Cole's face appeared. He looked tired but determined. Behind him was not a command center, but what appeared to be the bridge of a ship, cramped and functional. "High Chancellor Vexthor," Cole said calmly. "You came to destroy our civilization. Congratulations. You are now the proud conqueror of an empty planet. I hope it was worth bringing 200 ships." Vexthor's eyes narrowed. "You cannot run forever, Admiral. We will find you." "You misunderstand," Cole said with a slight smile. "We are not running. We are hunting. Welcome to our war." The transmission ended. Before Vexthor could respond, alarms screamed throughout his fleet. A supply convoy at the edge of the system was under attack. Human ships had appeared from nowhere, destroyed 3 supply vessels, and vanished again before reinforcements could arrive. "Send ships to pursue them," Vexthor ordered. "Sir, we are receiving another report," an officer said urgently. "A fuel depot in the Krell home system is under attack. Human raiders have destroyed 6 months of supplies." Vexthor felt something he had not experienced in his long military career: uncertainty. "How did they get to our home system?" "Unknown, sir. They jumped in, struck fast, and jumped out." Over the next 2 months, the pattern repeated across Krell space. Human attack groups struck logistics facilities, mining operations, and supply lines. They never stayed to fight a prolonged battle. They appeared, destroyed what they came for, and vanished. Captain Jake Morrison led many of these raids. The Vanguard had been modified to carry more weapons and less armor, prioritizing speed over protection. His crew had become experts at hit-and-run tactics. "Target confirmed," Lisa Hayes reported as they approached a Krell mining station. 6 freighters docked, minimal defense. "All weapons. Fire at will," Jake ordered. "We have 3 minutes before their patrol ships return." The Vanguard unleashed its full arsenal. The mining station's shields collapsed under the assault. Explosions tore through the facility as fuel tanks ignited. The freighters tried to flee but were cut down before they could reach faster-than-light speed. "Time's up," Jake said as his sensors detected incoming Krell ships. "Jump us out, now!" The Vanguard vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving the burning station behind. The pursuing Krell ships arrived to find nothing but wreckage. Megan Torres led similar attacks with fighter squadrons launched from mobile carrier ships. Her specialty was attacking Krell convoys in deep space, where they felt safe. She would position her carriers along known shipping routes and wait. "Contact," her sensor officer reported. "Convoy of 12 ships heading right toward us." Megan smiled. "Launch all fighters. Let's remind them why they should fear the dark." Her squadron poured out of the carrier's bays and swept down on the unsuspecting convoy. The Krell escorts tried to defend, but they were outnumbered and caught by surprise. Within minutes, all 12 cargo ships were destroyed, their valuable supplies scattered across space. Dr. Ben Carter worked from a mobile research lab aboard one of the evacuation ships. His team had captured several Krell prisoners during the raids, and he was learning everything he could about their psychology, culture, and weaknesses. "They are not used to this kind of war," Ben explained to Admiral Cole during a secure communication. "The Krell have always fought by overwhelming force. They take systems, hold territory, and crush resistance. But we have no territory for them to take. It is making them frustrated and angry." "Can we use that?" Cole asked. "Definitely. Frustrated enemies make mistakes. I am also finding divisions within their command structure. Some Krell officers are questioning Vexthor's obsession with destroying us. They worry about leaving their empire vulnerable while chasing humans across the galaxy. This information proved valuable. Human intelligence teams began broadcasting Krell casualty numbers on frequencies the aliens would intercept. They highlighted how many ships were being lost, how many resources were being wasted, how Vexthor's vendetta was costing the Dominion. The psychological warfare had an effect. Some Krell captains became more cautious, less willing to risk their ships. Others became more aggressive, angry at the humans for daring to resist. The unity of the Krell fleet began to fracture. Meanwhile, human engineers were making breakthroughs. Alex Kim's team had salvaged several Krell plasma weapons from destroyed ships. They worked frantically to integrate the alien technology with human systems. "If we can get these working on our ships, we will be able to penetrate their shields much more easily," Alex explained to a group of captains via video conference. "It will level the playing field." "How long until they are ready?" Jake asked. 2 weeks for the first prototypes, a month to retrofit the entire fleet." "Do it," Admiral Cole ordered. "We need every advantage we can get." Senator Claire Brooks, meanwhile, was working on a different front. During the raids, human ships had encountered other alien species living under Krell rule. Claire began reaching out to them, making contact, offering an alliance. "The Krell have oppressed you just as they tried to oppress us," she said in a broadcast to the Zalari, a species that had been conquered 50 years earlier. "Join us. Fight with us. Together we can break their empire." The Zalari were cautious, but some of their leaders listened. They began secretly supplying intelligence to the humans, information about Krell movements and weaknesses. A few Zalari ships even joined human raiding parties, striking back at their oppressors. Other species watched and waited. If humanity could actually defeat the Krell, the entire political structure of the galaxy would change. High Chancellor Vexthor was becoming desperate. His fleet had been chasing humans for 3 months and had achieved nothing. His casualties were mounting. His supplies were running low. And now he was receiving reports of rebellions among vassal species, inspired by human resistance. "We need to end this," one of his senior commanders said during a strategy meeting. "High Chancellor, perhaps we should reconsider our approach." "Reconsider?" Vexthor's voice was dangerous. "You suggest we negotiate with these primitives?" "I suggest, sir, that we are wasting resources on a species that may not be worth the cost. Perhaps we should focus on securing our existing territories and—" Vexthor struck the officer, sending him sprawling. "We are the Krell Dominion. We do not run from challenges. We do not admit defeat." But privately, Vexthor knew the officer was right. The war was going badly. He needed something to change the momentum. He needed a decisive victory. He called for his top weapons master. "Tell me about the extinction protocol." The weapons master looked nervous. "Sir, that technology is banned by our own laws. It is too dangerous, too indiscriminate." "I did not ask for your opinion on its legality. I asked you to tell me about it." "It is a planet-killer weapon, sir. A massive dreadnought ship that can generate enough energy to sterilize an entire world. It was built 1,000 years ago but has never been used." "Can it be activated?" "Yes, sir. But, High Chancellor, if we use it, we will be declaring total war. No species has ever survived an extinction protocol deployment." Vexthor smiled coldly. "Exactly. The humans want to hide. They want to scatter. I will eliminate their homeworld completely. I will make Earth a dead rock, a monument to the price of defying the Krell. Then we will hunt down every human ship one by one until their species is extinct. Sir, Earth is already abandoned. There is nobody there. I do not care. It is their home, their origin point. Destroying it will break their spirit. They will surrender, or we will exterminate them. Either way, this war ends. Orders were sent across Krell space. The ancient dreadnought, the Worldbreaker, was brought out of mothballs and prepared for deployment. It would take 2 months to make the ship operational, but Vexthor was willing to wait. Human intelligence intercepted communications about the dreadnought. Admiral Cole called an emergency meeting of his commanders. "They are activating a planet killer," he said grimly. "It is heading for Earth. Even though we have abandoned the planet, they want to destroy it to break our morale." "Can we stop it?" Megan asked. "We will have to," Cole replied. "Earth may be empty, but it is still our home. If they destroy it, they prove they can eliminate any world we care about. We cannot allow that." Jake stood up. "Then we intercept them. We stop that ship before it reaches Earth." "It will be heavily guarded," Lisa pointed out. "They will expect us to try something." "Good," Cole said. "Let them expect us. We will give them exactly what they expect, and then we will do something they do not expect at all. Prepare every ship we have. We are going to war." The final battle was being prepared. Humanity was about to make its stand. The Krell Dreadnought Worldbreaker was the largest warship ever built, 5 kilometers long and bristling with enough weapons to destroy a solar system. It moved through space with 40 escort ships, a fleet powerful enough to crush any normal resistance. High Chancellor Vexthor watched from his command ship as the dreadnought approached Earth. In 3 days, the weapon would be charged and ready to fire. Humanity's homeworld would become lifeless rock. The war would finally be over. "High Chancellor," an officer reported, "we are detecting human ships ahead." "How many?" "All of them, sir. Every human vessel we have been tracking. They are forming a defensive line between us and Earth." Vexthor leaned forward with interest. "Finally, they come to fight. How foolish. They cannot stop the Worldbreaker. Order all ships to attack. Destroy them." The Krell fleet accelerated toward the human formation. On the human side, Admiral Ryan Cole stood on the bridge of his battleship Relentless, watching the enemy approach. Around him were gathered what remained of humanity's space forces. Every ship, every fighter, every weapon they had. "This is it," Cole said quietly. "Everything we have left goes into this battle. We stop that dreadnought or we lose everything." Captain Jake Morrison positioned the Vanguard at the center of the human formation. Beside him were dozens of other ships, many of them damaged from months of fighting but still able to fight. Megan Torres commanded 3 fighter squadrons ready to launch. Dr. Ben Carter was aboard a support ship, coordinating electronic warfare. "All ships," Cole broadcast on all frequencies. "Today we make our stand. The Krell think they can destroy our home and break our will. Let us show them what humanity does when pushed to the edge. All forces, engage at will." The 2 fleets collided in a storm of fire and fury. Human ships, now equipped with stolen Krell plasma weapons, tore into the enemy formation. The Krell escorts fought back, their superior firepower devastating several human vessels in the opening minutes. But the humans had learned from months of guerrilla warfare. They did not fight in formation. They swarmed. They scattered and regrouped. They sacrificed damaged ships by ramming them into enemy vessels. They fought with desperate courage because they had nothing left to lose. Megan Torres led her fighters straight into the teeth of the Krell formation. "All squadrons, target those escorts. Clear a path to the dreadnought." Her pilots flew like demons, dodging plasma fire and launching missiles at point-blank range. Fighters were destroyed by the dozens, but they kept coming. One escort ship fell, then another. The human swarm tactics were overwhelming the Krell's ability to respond. Jake Morrison brought the Vanguard around for an attack run on the Worldbreaker itself. The massive ship's shields deflected most of his weapons fire, but he was not trying to destroy it. He was buying time. "Alex," Jake called to Alex Kim, who was working frantically in the engineering section. "Please tell me you have something." "Almost there, Captain. The virus is ready. I just need someone to get close enough to upload it directly to the Dreadnought's systems." "How close?" "Within 200 meters, and the connection needs to be maintained for at least 30 seconds. Jake cursed. Getting that close to the planet-killer ship would be suicide. But then he saw Admiral Cole's ship, the Relentless, accelerating toward the Dreadnought on a collision course. "Cole, what are you doing?" Jake demanded over the radio. "What needs to be done, Captain?" the Admiral replied calmly. "My ship is already dying. Reactor took a hit 5 minutes ago. We have maybe 10 minutes before it explodes. So I am going to make those 10 minutes count." "Sir, you do not have to—" "Morrison, I am an old man who has lived a good life. Get that virus ready. I will get you close enough." The Relentless. Its hull, glowing with fires from multiple breaches, plowed through enemy fire toward the Worldbreaker. Krell ships tried to intercept, but other human vessels threw themselves in the way, sacrificing themselves to keep the path clear. Admiral Cole stood on his burning bridge, holding onto his chair as explosions rocked the ship. "Helm, take us in. Full speed." The Relentless smashed into the Worldbreaker's shields at maximum velocity. The shields flared and collapsed from the impact. Cole's ship embedded itself in the Dreadnought's hull, melding the two vessels together in a tangle of metal and fire. "Now, Alex! Upload it now!" Cole shouted into the radio. Alex Kim activated the virus from the Vanguard. The digital weapon jumped through the physical connection between the ships and invaded the Worldbreaker's computer systems. Krell technicians tried to stop it, but Dr. Ben Carter's team had designed the virus specifically to exploit Krell programming. It spread through the Dreadnought systems like wildfire. "It is working," Alex reported. "The weapon system is shutting down. 30 seconds until full system crash." On the Relentless, Admiral Cole felt his ship beginning to tear apart. The reactor was going critical. He had maybe 30 seconds left himself. "All hands. This is the Admiral," he said calmly. "It has been an honor serving with you. Tell our people that we did not fail them." The Relentless's reactor exploded. The massive detonation tore through both ships, crippling the Worldbreaker and sending debris spinning through space. Admiral Ryan Cole died instantly, taking the planet-killer weapon with him. "No!" Jake Morrison shouted, watching the explosion. But there was no time to grieve. The battle was still raging. High Chancellor Vexthor watched his dreadnought die with disbelief. "This is impossible! They are primitives! How do they keep defeating us?" His tactical officer spoke urgently. "Sir, the Worldbreaker is lost. We should retreat and regroup." "Never!" Vexthor screamed. "I will see humanity destroyed if it is the last thing I do. All ships, continue the attack!" But his fleet was falling apart. The human forces, inspired by Admiral Cole's sacrifice, fought with renewed fury. Ship after ship fell to the human assault. The Krell formation collapsed. Then something unexpected happened. Alien ships that were not human appeared on the battlefield. The Zalari had brought their fleet to help humanity. Other species, emboldened by the human example, were joining the fight. "To all Krell forces," a Zalari captain broadcast, "this is where your empire ends. Too long have you enslaved us. Today we fight for freedom." Vexthor realized with horror that the battle was lost. Worse, his empire was crumbling. If he stayed, he would be captured or killed. With bitter rage, he ordered his remaining ships to retreat. The Krell fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled. The humans and their new allies did not pursue. They were too exhausted, too damaged, but they had won. Jake Morrison stood on the Vanguard's bridge, looking at the debris field where Admiral Cole had died. Around him, his crew was silent. "He saved us all," Lisa Hayes said quietly. "He did more than that," Jake replied. He proved that humans will give everything for freedom. The Krell will never forget that. The news of the Krell defeat spread across the galaxy like lightning. Species that had lived under the Dominion's rule for centuries rose in rebellion. The Krell Empire, which had seemed eternal, began to collapse. 6 months later, the Krell homeworld was in chaos. Vexthor had been overthrown by his own people, arrested and exiled. The new Krell government sent representatives to negotiate peace with humanity. President Kyle Manning met with the Krell representatives in neutral space. They were humbled, defeated, desperate for terms that would save what remained of their civilization. "You wanted us to submit or be destroyed," Manning said. "Instead, we fought back. We showed the galaxy that bullies can be beaten. Now you come asking for mercy." The Krell representative bowed low. "We underestimated humanity. We were arrogant. We asked for peace, whatever the terms." Manning considered. Part of him wanted revenge for Haven's Rest, for the 2 million dead. But he knew that revenge would just continue the cycle of violence. "The war is over," Manning said, "but the peace will be built on new principles. No more empires. No more subjugation. Every species gets to choose its own path. We will form a galactic council where all species have equal voice. These are our terms." The Krell agreed. They had no choice. 1 year after the war ended, Captain Jake Morrison stood on a new space station called Unity Station. It was the headquarters of the newly formed Galactic Council. Representatives from 40 different species were gathering for the first session. Dr. Ben Carter joined him at the observation window. Below them, Earth rotated peacefully. The planet had been reoccupied, cities were being rebuilt, life was returning. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Carter asked. "Fighting instead of surrendering?" Jake thought about Admiral Cole, about Megan Torres's squadron mates who never came home, about the millions who died on Haven's Rest. "The Krell expected us to be silent when they threatened us," Jake said finally. "They expected fear. They expected submission. Instead, we hit back like a storm. We showed them and everyone else that humanity cannot be bullied. Yes, we paid a terrible price, but we are free. That is worth something." Carter nodded. "They expected silence. And we answered with thunder," Jake finished. "Now we build something better. A galaxy where no one has to choose between slavery and death." Megan Torres, now a decorated war hero, was overseeing the reconstruction of Haven's Rest. A massive memorial stood where the capital city had been, honoring those who died. But around it, new buildings were rising. Life was returning. Senator Claire Brooks, now the president of the United Earth Coalition, addressed the first Galactic Council session. "We have all suffered under tyranny," she said to the assembled representatives. "Humanity fought for its freedom, and in doing so, helped free others. But freedom is not just about winning wars. It is about building peace. It is about ensuring that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. That is why we are here today." The council voted to establish new laws protecting all species. Military fleets were limited. Aggressive expansion was forbidden. Disputes would be resolved through negotiation, not conquest. It was not perfect. There were still tensions, still disagreements. Some species, like the Krell, resented their loss of power. Others worried that humanity, having won the war, would become the new oppressors. But Jake Morrison believed they could make it work. Humanity had proven it could fight when necessary. Now it needed to prove it could build peace. In a dark corner of space, far from Unity Station, former High Chancellor Vexthor watched reports of the new Galactic Council with burning hatred. He had been exiled, disgraced, but he was not finished. Someday, somehow, he would have revenge on the humans who destroyed everything he had built. But that was a problem for another day. For now, the galaxy was at peace. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through submission but through courage. They had been tested and had not broken. The Krell had expected silence. Humanity had answered with a tempest, and the galaxy would never be the same.